Okay, here we go for the second of the Tuesday's videos. Yeah, that was my attempt to actually stop a blister and all that. But it didn't stop a blister forming like there. Well, yeah, here we go with ancient Malawi. This is about 2,000 years ago. There was a simple Stone Age culture in Malawi. As people lived by hunting and gathering, however, in the 4th century, the Batu people arrived in the area. And they introduced tools and weapons, and as well as farming. And in the 15th century, the people who lived south of the Lake Nyasa began to build an empire as they created an empire called the Malawi. And in the 18th century, the Malawi Empire included parts of Zimbabwe and Mozambique. However, in the that same century, the Malawi Empire broke up. But while in the 16th, like 2 centuries earlier, in the 16th, the Portuguese had reached the Malawi Empire. The people sold and slaves and ivory as the Portuguese brought maize originally from South America to the part of Africa. As part of from this 18th and 19th century, people from northern Mozambique called the Yao raided Malawi and took captives to be sold as slaves to the Arabic people. And in the 1940s, the first people called the Ngani invaded the area and frequently fought the Yao. And by 1856, David Livingstone, Scottish explorer and missionary, reached Lake Nyasa. Following him in 1878, 2 Scottish Presbyterian missionary societies were built in the area. As more missionaries followed and the British merchants began selling goods to the region. But in 1883, the British sent a consul to the area, as the British gradually took control of what is now Malawi. In 1883, they formed the Shire Highlands Protectorate. And in 1891, most of Malawi was formed in the British Central African Protectorate. The first commissioner was Harry Johnston, as the British ended the slave trade and created coffee plantations. And in 1897, Johnston was replaced by Alfred Sharp. And when 1907 came around, the British named Malawi Nyasaland. And also in 1907, Nyasaland was given a legislative council, as the commissioner was made a governor, as Alfred Sharp retired in 1910. And when the First World War began, Germans from Tanzania invaded what is now Malawi, but they were repelled. However, in 1915, a man named John Chileum led a rebellion in Malawi, which was quickly crushed. And during the success of World War II, 30,000 Malawians served the armed forces. However, the Africans were increasingly well educated and became more and more dissatisfied with being ruled by Europeans. And as by 1944, they formed the Nyasaland African Congress. And in 1949, native Malawians were allowed to sit on the Legislative Council for the first time. As in 1953, the British joined Northern Rhodesia, or known as Zambia, and Southern Rhodesia, as now Zimbabwe, and Nyasaland Malawi, into a single unit called the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland. And in 1958, Dr. Hastings Banda became head of the African Congress, which renamed the Malawi Congress Party in 1958-9. There were many protests against British rule, and as a result, a state of emergency was declared, as Banda was imprisoned at the time. However, the British now realised that independence was inevitable for Malawi, and in 1961, the Malawian Congress Party won the elections to the Legislative Council, and in 1962 the British agreed to make Malawi independent. As a federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland was dissolved in 1963, as Malawi became independent on the 6th of July 1964. At first, Banda was Prime Minister of Malawi, but 2 years later, in 1966, Malawi was made into a republic as the British Queen was no longer the head of state, and Banda became a president. And under the British rule, Zomba was the capital of Malawi, which was changed in 1975 as Lilongwe became capital for economic reasons. Banda was keen to have good relations with South Africa. In 1967, he established diplomatic relations, but was an unpopular move because of the apartheid system still in place in South Africa. But Banda still visited South Africa in 1971, as his rule eventually became a dictatorship. As in 1971, he made himself president of Malawi for life, as all this dissent was ruthlessly crushed, as letters and telephone calls were censored, as were other media like films and magazines. However, like other African dictators, Banda was very rich, while most of his people were poor, as he owned many palaces, cars and helicopters. And then in 1992, Malawi suffered a severe drought, and not surprisingly, there were violent protests in Malawi, as some Western countries suspended aid, as some of the churches in Malawi described the situation. As in 1993, Banda was forced to hold a referendum. The people were asked if they wanted to continue one-party rule or return to democracy, as majority voted for democracy, and elections were held on the 17th of May 1993, as Bilki Muzi became the new president. And today many people in Malawi are subsistence farmers, as main crops are cassava, sorghum and maize, and there are also many cattle and farmers and sheep. And Malawi has many white-owned plantations that have products like tea, tobacco, sugar, cotton and peanuts. As many also live on Lake Malawi to fish, as there's also a great potential for tourism, as there are several national parks. In 2004, Bingu wa Mutharika was elected president of Malawi, and he began an anti-corruption drive, and in 2012 Joyce Banda became the first female president of Malawi. Yay, equality! And meanwhile, in the 21st century, Malawi has achieved some steady economic growth, but there is still a developing country. Nigeria, the population is about 19,000. As English is the official language of Malawi, while Chikewa is the national language spoken by about 57% of the population, followed by Chinyaja at 12.8%, Gr by 10.1%, and Chitumbuka by 9.5%, as they are the native other native languages, which are among the 16 individual living languages of the country, as is Malawian Lomwe, which is spoken by about 250,000 in the south, east and south of Lake Kilwa, and yep, to name one of them. As Chikwe belongs to the Bantu languages family, also spoken by the East, Central and South Africa, and Mozambique. In Zambia, it is one of the country's seven official African languages, while in Zimbabwe it follows the Shona and Northern Ndebele, as was the most widely used language locally. In Malawi, 65% of the population has either functional literacy or active command of the language, which is further promoted by the government through various educational programs, research activities and media usage under the government-supported Chikawa Board, which is now known as a Centre for Language Studies, as the government has prepared a common list of simple Chikawa words with English meanings, which can be available to tourists upon arrangements with concerned government officials. And yeah, and if one travels throughout Malawi discovered that the majority of citizens believe in witchcraft or fiti exists, and it's not strange to meet many male Asinga and Yanga, as they specialize in charms and haunts, saying Akweri Nokumana to mean witches we have met. And in a nutshell, the Chikawa meanings, Adaku Pezani Afiti, meaning which has been caught and found by those who say they track down and dilute their powers. So yeah, that is Malawi for you, and yeah, bye for now, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully I won't do this way again.